The new stadium in Barranquilla is a vibrant bowl of noise as Israel fly 5,000 miles to this Caribbean seaport for tonight's World Cup showdown. Good evening, my name is Philip Myson, alongside me Don Howe, and welcome to the first of two playoffs between Colombia, the winners of Group 2 in South America, and Israel, victors of the Oceania Group, and they're playing tonight for a place in the World Cup finals in Italy. Good evening, Don, and first of all, congratulations on England booking their passage to the World Cup finals next summer.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks very much. Well, I'm looking forward to this game. It's always nice to see contrasting styles, the South American style against the European style. And it's amazing how difficult it is for countries like Israel to qualify for these games. I mean, when you think they've had to go as far as New Zealand and Australia in their start of their group before they qualify to go all the way over to Colombia. I mean, they have covered thousands and thousands of miles just to get to this level. Yes, so if they get to the World Cup, it'll be worth its while.
Well, they'll certainly be the nation who'd have booked the most air miles. Yes. But Barranquilla, of course, was the birthplace of soccer in Colombia, and they're hoping it'll be a springboard tonight for them to Italy. Now, looking at the Oceania Group, Israel, well, they really only just edged it, didn't they, Don? Just a solitary victory there from the 4 games.
Well, I would think those 3 countries there are very similar at level. You know, they're just below the mainstream of the top European countries, and they would be very tight games.
And Colombia also edging out Paraguay when Paraguay went down in Ecuador in their final game, which they needed to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, Paraguay, as you know, played in Mexico, and they were quite a good side. And I saw them also play in the South American Championships. But we all saw Colombia a couple of years ago at Wembley, and I think everybody was impressed with their skill.
And not forgetting, of course, England played Israel as well in 1980.
Yes, we played Israel twice in the last few years, and drew twice in Tel Aviv, and they were difficult games.
Well, it could be a tough game for Colombia this evening. The Israelis, we're sure, will come here to Barranquilla to defend. We're underway inside the first minute, and it's Israel in the light blue shirts defending the goal away to our left. And just listen to the noise which is cascading down from the packed terracing around us here in this Caribbean seaport. And as I was saying before we looked at the tables, the game brought to Barranquilla by English sailors, would you believe, in 1924. That saw the formation of the first organised league here in Colombia. And as we say tonight, hoping that Barranquilla will provide a suitable backdrop for Colombia to take a suitable advantage to Israel for the second leg. They'll be looking, I would think, for at least a 2-goal advantage, Don.
Yeah, obviously they do. It's not going to be easy, you know, the Israel, I mean, just there alone, the opening shots showed how the Israelis are going to play it. I mean, the goalkeeper took a long time with the ball. He bounced it a few times. He let the game settle down. He let the game go quiet. And that's how it's going to be with the Israelis. Obviously, the Colombians have got to take the game to Israel.
Yes. And here they are building from the back with the dominant centre-back pairing once again of Escobar and Perea. The man on the ball with the captain's armband, of course. We all recognise him by now, Carlos Valderrama. But Israel regaining possession inside their own half. Early evening here in Barranquilla, so the torrid heat of the afternoon now somewhat abated. And Israel getting men forward here. And now there's a linesman's flag for offside. But showing some invention there as we've just momentarily lost pictures.
Yes, well, the Colombians are very clever at hunting impacts. You'll see them group around each other and they'll play little give and goes and little 1-2s off each other to take people out the game, and then they'll strike for goal.
And the Colombians have given the ball away once again. Now they've got it back. The playmaker in midfield, Valderrama. Of course, so much will revolve around him. And here he is once again. Always looks comfortable on the ball. The South American player of 1987. And Israel allowed to bring the ball away. Much to the derision of the home fans, they'll be expecting nothing less than a convincing victory here this evening, where Colombia are clearly starting as hot favourites to overcome a rather nervous Israel, because as Don was saying when we looked at the tables, just a solitary victory over New Zealand, and that by 1-0. All their other 3 games were draws. The final one back in April of this year in Australia, it was a 1-1 draw, and that edged Israel to the top of Oceania the group which sees Israel playing against those sides for political reasons. And here they are against the victors of Group 2. Iguaran making space. The target man up front, Valderrama. Now they've got men to left and right here, Colombia. The first shot of the game comes in and it's a tame one.
Well, that was a typical Colombian build-up. You know, you see a lot of these kind of 5-yard passes in little groups, playing little 1-2s off each other, and then around the box they're looking for the strike. You know, you'll see that all the time. It's just as though they don't want to give the ball away, they keep it tight, they don't worry about hitting long balls, they don't worry about changing the play, they just come forward on little 1-2s.
We know that the standard of the Colombian leagues is much higher than that in the Israeli domestic game. Do you think it might be a problem for the Israelis to maintain concentration over the 90 minutes?
Well, I think it's playing against this style. I know when we played Colombia at Wembley a couple of years ago, it took our players about the first half to get used to this little give and goes and the 1-2s and another team playing so short as this. In the second half, we stressed it out. We owned it up ourselves.
Now the Colombians beginning to settle down here inside the first 5 minutes, and just once again the move breaks down as they get to the final third. Back they come again. Colombia in the red and blue, if you've just joined us. This is Iguaran. Arnoldo Iguaran at 32 has to see this as his last chance to make the big time if he's to go to Italy next summer, where I'm sure he won't disgrace the international scene. And we have a very distinguished referee here this evening, Monsieur Valtro of France. Has a reputation in world football for being one of the toughest but one of the fairest referees, and let's hope that
yes, he does.
He won't be needed tonight.
He's a very good referee. I mean, he's a referee of a lot of the England-Scotland games, which are not easy to referee, and he gets a grip of them, and I think he stamps his authority on the game quite early on.
Well, so far here in Barranquilla, with 6 minutes gone, I don't think he's had a foul to whistle. That might be the first one of the evening. So, the first chance for Colombia to push their big men from the back into the Israeli box. Escobar, Perea, Iguaran, spring-heeled for such a small man. We've already seen him head vital goals in this Group 2 for Colombia. Free kick headed away by the Israeli defence, no trouble for them. But they've given it away, and Colombia have got plenty of men forward here. Brave header, and the danger's past. Now the target man for the Israelis, and look at Higuita there, way out of his goal, 40-50 yards. Well, we've said before, Higuita plays like a sweeper at times. That's enough to give the managers grey hairs, I should think, John.
Well, the managers told him to do that, Phil. I mean, modern-day goalkeepers now, I mean, with defences pushing out and leaving a lot of space behind the defence, they've got to come out and sweep up. They've virtually got to think like an outfield player.
Well, Higuita certainly does that. He's also prone to come upfield and take penalties for the national team. Plays for Nacional of Medellin, the Colombian champions, age 22, as Colombia with their first corner of the game. And that'll be a foul.
I think the days have gone, Phil, where the goalkeeper can just kind of stand on his goal line and forget what's going on because the ball's at the other end of the pitch. If the ball's at the other end of the pitch, he's got to be thinking, well, if the ball comes over the top of my defence, I've got to be there to sweep things up. And then he's got to have a little bit of ability to handle the ball.
Well, there's no doubt.
In terms of his feet.
Well, certainly Higuita seems to be the complete footballer when he's out of his box, quite happy playing the ball around at his feet. Israel on the far side. Cut out by Wilson Perez, one of the most improved players in the Colombian back four. Valderrama calling for the ball. But Israel put to close down. And Valderrama is not going to latch onto that one. It's back to the keeper, who is Bonnie Ginsberg, plays for Glasgow Rangers in Scotland, and has established himself in the Israeli goal in the last couple of seasons. The other players of note, of course, to British viewers, Abby Cohen who never really made the breakthrough at Anfield, did he, Don?
Well, he had 2 good years there, and without a doubt, I mean, Liverpool used to put him in the team more times than not. And all of a sudden, like, he seemed to have enough and on his way. And then he came to Glasgow Rangers, played there a couple of years, and then moved on again.
Rather wild challenge there by Cohen. It's given the ball away. Colombia looking for the cross, and behind for a corner, is it? Yes, it is.
Levy Cohen was a very good sweeper. I mean, a very intelligent player. You know, he could read it well, and on the ball he was very good. Good composure, bit of confidence to play it out from the back.
Well, certainly the danger man, as far as Colombia are concerned, will be the front runners, Ronnie Rosenthal and Eli Ohana, both who play in the Belgian First Division. But at the moment it's Israel with some defending to do. Now they've got a chance to break. That's some solid tackling coming in, but it's a lively opening here in Barranquilla, and it's a fair one too. None of the cynicism so far that they might have expected. And the number 4, I believe, is Klinger, plays for Maccabi Haifa. The Israelis, well, of course, they suffer very much from lack of top-class international competition. Politically, they find it difficult to attract fixtures, and really their players have to go abroad if they're to establish their credentials in the top flight. And we'll tell you more about their 2 star strikers after they've defended this free kick directly in front of Ginsberg's goal. And 30 yards out, it's, well, Escobar can hit them, so can Pereira. Driven into the wall. Valderrama did well to win it back. And the cross just flashes behind. Well, Ginsberg seemed unperturbed, but...
Well, they did well. The Israelis did well with the wall there. I mean, they blocked off the shot. I mean, obviously, when you go to South America, you expect someone in the opposition to be able to either bend the ball round the wall or a powerful shot on the target for a rebound off the keeper. You expect all those things, but they built a good solid wall there, the Israelis.
Alvarez, of course, the other influential figure alongside Valderrama in the midfield. And the Colombians beginning to put together some fluent football here. They may be all well. They had 2 central defenders well back, but that's the first yellow card of the evening. Valderrama wants to take the free kick quickly, and in fact Mr. Valtro says fine.
Yeah, he let it go. That was quite surprising, really. That's a referee's how can I put it, reading of the game. If a team wants to play a quick free kick, a lot of referees let them do it and get on with it. Another referee will keep it there and hold the game up for the next kind of 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, it all got a bit hectic there, but Valderrama exercised his option to take a quick free kick. It didn't come off, and the referee quite rightly said, fine, we'll play on. But it's only now, in fact, 60 seconds later, that he's actually noting in his book...
He's got time to, yes, to put
just
in there.
who was shown the yellow card. And
laying down on the yellow card, yes.
We'll wait for the caption, but we think it's the Israeli number 7. But we'll have that confirmed for us by the Colombian director. So, first booking of the evening to Israel. They have a free kick on the far side. And that's not going to trouble this Colombian defence. And that one was wasted. It's Wilson Perez. Valderrama always seems to find space in midfield, doesn't he, Don?
Well, he's given the freedom. He's virtually got the freedom of the pitch. He can go where he likes to knit things together. And we just saw his goals, his little clever one-twos. I mean, you can always tell him because, you know, he's the blonde at South America. You don't see many of them.
No, you don't. The South American Ruud Gullit, as he's become known, and of course plays his football now in the French First Division with Montpellier. Makes no trouble for Higuita. Well, it's early days, Don, in the first half, but the Israelis don't look as if they've come just to defend, do they?
No, that they're prepared to hit long balls forward, and they're also packing out in midfield. They know they're going to come on those little 1-2s in the centre midfield, and they're packing in there, the Israelis. You know, they're just leaving one player forward, and they'll hit him on the break, and away they'll go.
Now a strong surging run from midfield. And then the final ball was lacking. Not afraid to take men on. There's no question about this Israeli team's fitness. They've got a whole host of coaches who've travelled with them on the bench, and physical fitness is very much one of the positive aspects of their game. Just going back to the target man for Israel, that's Eli Ohana, the 25-year-old Michelin striker, who our Scottish viewers may remember, because his 2 goals back in 87-88 put St Mirren out of that European Cup Winners' Cup competition, which saw Michelin go on to beat Ajax in an all-Benelux affair to lift the European Cup Winners' Cup. And Ohana's 2 goals good enough to beat St Mirren in the second round. And in fact asked for a transfer at the end of the Belgian season, was hoping to go to Udinese in Italy, but still currently playing for the Belgians. Tonight here in the blue, playing for his country. Number 10 is Ronnie Rosenthal. He's also active in the Belgian Premier Division, plays for Standard Liège. So those are the 2 players that Israel really have, who they're hoping will be able to at least fire one away goal for them this evening. At the moment, Don, the Colombians only have to string 2 or 3 passes together, and the roof nearly lifts off the new stadium here.
Yeah, the crowd go wild, especially when Valderrama's on the ball. They respond to this individual kind of cleverness and the little flicks with the outside the foot, the crowd.
Long-range effort comes in and it's well wide.
You know, obviously, our crowd respond to that as well, but we need, in the excitement of European football or even British football is the ball going into the box. That's when our crowds get excited. And yet this Colombian crowd, every time there's a little bit of skill, a little clever touch in midfield, they go wild.
And just listen to them here in Barranquilla. I can tell you that the media build-up to this game in Colombia this week has been absolutely phenomenal. Colombia, perhaps the surprise package of Group 2, those of us who remember the World Cup in 86. Will of course remember Paraguay's progress there when England put them out by 3-0, and they might have been the favourites on paper to win Group 2, but it's Colombia who are emerging now as one of the stronger nations in South America. And here they are once again playing the ball intelligently through midfield, and once again it's just the final pass. But Israel with 2 stoppers, shoring up the middle, and at the moment Ginsberg has been troubled. They'll come Colombia again. Throw in then to Colombia on this near side. This is Hoyos, the left fullback. And the Colombians proving at the moment they're not shot shy, but it's all rather from long range. Bonnie Ginsberg will be quite happy if it continues like this, I'm quite sure. Every minute that passes is of course a bonus for Israel. They'll be more than happy to take a 0-0 result back for the second leg. We don't see too much of Israeli football in this country, Don, but they had rather a good World Cup for them in 1970. Just wait to see this effort coming in. They're offside once again. They ended up with a 0-0 draw against the eventual runners-up Italy, I believe, in 70.
I think over the last 2 or 3 years they've been working hard at their international team, and obviously with the clubs improving as well as the national team and players going abroad, it's making them a better all-round team. You know, I mean, obviously you don't like to see good players leave your country, but it does help in experience.
Now a real chance for Colombia in the box. Playoff says the referee. Shot deflected. Colombia appealing for a penalty. I think the referee's decision was exactly the right one there. Monsieur Valtro has seen it all before. And the first real chance over.
Yeah, it was a lovely little clever ball into the box, but he never really had control of it.
And quite rightly the referee refusing to signal a foul. But at the moment the Israelis are having to take in some pressure. And I think that's the fourth shot from about that distance we've seen whistling by. If they get any closer, Mr. Ginsberg might have to break sweat.
They've got to get those on the target though, I mean...
They have.
Great that they try and get the long shots in.
There was the penalty incident once again. But I think the Colombians themselves realised that there was no foul there. So if you just joined us here in Barranquilla with 18 minutes of the first half gone, as the director once again shows us the incident which resulted in no penalty being given. It's Colombia 0, Israel 0 in the first half. And by my reckoning, it's been all Colombia. They've had 4 shots, all off target. And Higuita yet to see anything really dangerous coming his way. Carlos Valderrama, unmistakable figure of the Colombian playmaker. And he looks so well with Higuaín. They have men forward there. And that's the first real save of the evening from Ronnie Ginsberg, and he was equal to it.
That was a little good shot. I love the little kind of combination of about 3 or 4 passes before the shot went on, but this one was definitely on the target. And a good save in the top left-hand corner.
Yes, no doubt about that one. That was on its way into the top left-hand corner. And a fine save from the Israeli number 1. So once again here, does well.
Keeper did very well, got across, got his opposite arm across, his right arm across his body to get the ball and flick it over the top of the bar.
Well, that'll give the Colombians heart. They've begun to dominate, and they're pushing Israel back at the moment. They've had 4 off target, but finally getting 1 on the mark. And that's the closest we've come to a goal here inside the first 20 minutes. Certainly in the last 10 to 15, Israel really not getting across the halfway line, are they?
No, they're pending their own half. I think that's by design. I mean, they're not going and competing to defend, that is, in the Colombian half. They're virtually just saying, well, you can have it there, we're going to regroup in our half. So obviously they're going to defend in and around their own box.
Lovely turn by Higuaín, and it's through to the keeper. This man Higuaín really has impressed me throughout the Group 2 games. And he's scored some vital goals for his country. And he plays perhaps appropriately enough for Millonarios in Colombia. Now rather casually Colombia giving the ball away, and they've conceded a free kick. Again, Monsieur Valtro from Florence proving that he's going to stand for no nonsense this evening. And he's already brandished 1 yellow card, and by my book has missed absolutely nothing. So a rare chance for the Israelis to perhaps threaten Higuita around the penalty area. I thought it was going to be the aerial ball, but they're playing it wide. And they've lost possession. Now Colombia on the break, Higuaín in all sorts of space here. Higuaín one-on-one, goes for the shot, too close to the keeper. Not afraid to carry the ball forward and on the trusty left foot.
Well, it was the first time the Israelis really got a few players forward for the free kick. Ball went in, got knocked down, and then Colombia come on the break. And it was a nice ball forward on the break, but the sweeper did the right thing, he didn't commit himself. let him have the shot from that distance. It was on the target, but it never really troubled the keeper.
Well, the difference in this game so far is that Colombia really are now beginning to boss the midfield. And as Don says, the Israelis are quite happy to pull back to the 18-yard line. They're defending in depth with two stoppers. And quite happy to soak up the pressure at the moment. It's been a lively start here in the first half, full of incident and good football, and the game being allowed to flow by some good refereeing. Some hesitancy there from Israeli defenders, and once again they've conceded the free kick in a dangerous position. Now, the last time from this sort of range, the Israeli wall was just about perfect. I wonder if it'll be the same this time.
Well, from this distance they go for power, you know, they're looking for someone in the side who can really get a powerful shot in. I mean, what's it, must be around about 35 yards away.
So number 4, the defender, and that one was going inside the post. Second tremendous save from Ginsberg in the last 5 minutes. Once again, the Colombians really now beginning to find the range, though.
Well, that was a nice swing in, power and swing in that shot. Hit it well, going away from the keeper. Ginsberg got across, and the best he could do was knock it around the post.
Did extremely well. Reminiscent in some ways of Peter Shilton's save last Wednesday in Katowice. This is Reddin. Winning back so simply. Well, crowd didn't like that, but as the Colombian player went to ground, I think the referee quite rightly seeing that it was the ball that was played first. But that is not to Mr. Valtro's liking.
That's a warning for next time. The referee's just letting him know, I've noted you, do it again and you'll be in the book.
Tall, black, number 15 there, just in vision. Leaves it for Valderrama. He's missed nothing so far. He and Escobar are doing an excellent job on containing what little threat the Israelis have so far managed to muster. This is Perea. Leaves it for Hoyos. They really are hungry for the ball, the Colombians, aren't they, in this first half?
The only thing about it is, I mean, obviously they're very skillful and they've got some lovely little touches with the outside of the foot and they've just eased it into each other and run off it. But the Brazilians do all that type of work around the box where it's going to hurt. Where the Colombians do it is on and around the halfway line. You know, and you tend to think, well, get it forward first, get it around the box, then do all your clever stuff.
27 minutes of the first half here at the new stadium Barranquilla. It's the first leg of the playoffs between the winners of Group 2 Colombia in the red and blue and the winners of the Oceania Group Israel. Rosenthal being forced to come deep to just get a sight of the ball. That'll be Perea, the flag up. And Colombia also playing this offside.
Yeah, well, Colombia don't play with the sweeper, they didn't at Wembley. And they do hold the line. More times than not, they hold the edge of the box. But every now and again, like it's 10 yards outside the box, they let people run in free and offside.
Handball. Well, what's impressing me in this first half is the the way that both Reddin and Valderrama really are bossing the midfield. And as you say, Don, if they can get into the box where it hurts...
That's right. If Valderrama can do all that nice work kind of around the D, it's going to really hurt.
Wilson Perez, cross from the far side. He's looking for Iguaran. He'll retrieve it. Number 16 for Colombia. Crosses headed away by the Israeli defence. Crowd rather hoping for another long shot. That one too ambitious. It's all very crowded now around that Israeli penalty box. So Colombia build again. Well, that was rather South American in style.
Yes.
Valderrama pushing, probing, prompting the forwards. They seem to have adopted a shoot-on-sight policy here.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, with the greatest respect to the new ball, to the new type of ball, it's worth getting long shots in. They do swing around in the air. They're not easy for goalkeepers.
Corner then to Colombia from the far side. And they can't build from the second phase. It's Israel flood out. Play on, says the referee. Valderrama picks up the pieces once again. The orchestrator for Colombia. Oh, that's a wayward one. Wow, the Israelis guilty of giving the ball away.
Yes, they are.
Here's Reddin. And the cross is off the defender, is it? For a corner?
Well, that's one of the problems of kind of dropping back in your own half deep, you know, and getting perhaps 10 players behind the ball, is that when you do get it, you're stuck. You've got nowhere to go because everybody's behind the ball. So you tend to give it away again. You know, if they have got players up front to hit, at least hitting that player, getting support to him, takes them out their own half.
Both these sides so desperate to be part of the pageant in Italy next summer. Israel, of course, just the one appearance in the World Cup in 1970 in Mexico, and the Colombians likewise in 1962 in Chile, when they went out early in the competition. Colombia, of course, who offered the finals as host nation in '86, but it wasn't to be, which would have guaranteed their participation, of course. And here they are, perhaps hoping to get there on footballing merit. You think this Colombian side would give a good account of themselves in Italy, were they to get there?
I think so, yeah. I think they'd be very entertaining.
By an Israeli shirt, so it allows Colombia to hold possession on the far side. They've won a throw-in 10 yards from the corner flag. Almost all the play now being concentrated in the Israeli half of the field. Valderrama just tries a little dink into the box. A knot of 4 players jumping for it, and it breaks out of defence once again, but the Israelis at the moment simply can't get over the halfway line. The red of Colombia flooding forward once again, attacking waves. There's a Colombian down on the 6-yard line, and keeper Ginsberg very sportively indeed puts the ball out of play.
Yes,
and that's nice to see.
I think that the reason, I mean, I remember when they came to Wembley, the Colombians, I think the people who were watching the game were delighted with what they saw, all the lovely little touches and the skills. Whether they would like it if they saw it every week, I don't know, but I think it's just the contrasting styles. That's why if Colombia went to the World Cup, I think people would enjoy seeing them play.
Well, they'd certainly enjoy seeing players of the calibre of Valderrama. His footballing skills really deserve a bigger stage, and indeed Iguaran as well has impressed me considerably with the progress being made in Colombia in the past couple of years underneath manager, or trainer, as they prefer to say, Colombia, Francisco Matarana. And it's Iguaran who's holding the shoulder. Let's hope that he's okay. And he'd be a sad loss to the Colombian front line were he unable to continue. It's obviously a shoulder that's been jarred when jumping for that cross of Valderrama's.
Yes, and he's dropped on the point of the shoulder, and sometimes it just just kind of springs the shoulder bone.
And that's once again
Yes.
A hallmark of the spirit in which this game's being played, as Valderrama gives the ball back to the Israeli side. So Iguaran, okay, gingerly rubbing his shoulder, but away we go. And after 32 minutes here in the new stadium Barranquilla, the Colombians perhaps might have hoped their pressure would have deserved a goal by now. As it is, the score remains, if you've just joined us here, Colombia 0, Israel 0. The first of two games to decide which of these two sides will go to Italy next summer. And the excitement here, there's so much noise coming down from the terracing that I'm losing my voice already. And we've got another 58 minutes to play. Valderrama trying to get a 1-2 going on the far side. And the Colombians have their fourth corner of the half, the Israelis yet to earn one themselves.
Referee's doing well, Phil. I mean, he's ignoring one or two of the little kind of contacts, and he's letting people get on with it. And that's the way to keep these games flowing.
Out-swinging corner from the far side evades everybody. Turned back by Escobar. This is Hoyos, the left back. Colombia now spreading the play to the far side, and it's out of play for a throw-on. So Colombia just have to be patient and find a way through this rugged Israeli defence, which so far here in Barranquilla has soaked up everything that Colombia can throw at them. Now on a rare breakout, the Israelis, well, once again they've given the ball away in rather casual fashion, and now they're funneling back to get as many men behind the ball as possible. Danger every time Valderrama's on the ball. Trying to get Iguaran going once again. It's picked up on the far side by Wilson Perez. This is Redding. Valderrama a little bit too ambitious. Now this is good play by the Israeli winger, the number 11, Eli Ohana. He's the man we told you about at the top of the programme. Plays in Belgium for Mechelen. And so far he's just really been a lone ranger.
When he gets a run at them, yes, he looks as though he can go by people. Now he could, if he set off and he puts a couple of the Colombians out of the game with his dribbling, he could just create a chance.
Well, he's a great favourite in Belgium because it was his goal in the semi-finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup over Marseille, which put the Belgians into that final against Ajax, and they went on to lift the trophy. The Israelis then with a free kick towards towards Iguita. He goes for the punch. It's a good one. And Colombia cross the halfway line on the far side. Alvarez in possession, the number 14, short to Redding. Alvarez looking for the return and gets it. And can't go past the Israeli captain, the fullback. It's one of the two Cohens in the side. So Colombia once again. This is Iguaran, now fully recovered. Alvarez. Wilson Perez goes for the aerial attack, and it's Colombia, well, winning the aerial duel, but from that distance, no trouble for Ginsberg. I was about to say they're reluctant just to hoist it into the penalty box.
Yeah, and yet in the last kind of 5 minutes, they have just readapted their style. They are now playing it wide to wingers, the Colombians, where in the first 20 minutes they were coming through kind of the centre circle on 1-2s and little balls. Now all of a sudden they're going wide. Whether they think that they can get round the sides, because they're definitely not getting through the middle. So they're trying to go round the sides.
Yes, it's all very cluttered through the middle of the park. Plenty of Israeli traffic there blocking the way to Ginsberg. And quite sensibly, the Colombians now are beginning to explore possibilities down the two flanks. Ready. Once again, the Colombians stringing together half a dozen good passes, a good telling ball from Valderrama. Iguaran turns it in from a tight angle and will win a corner off the defender. And Valderrama, the man there who just suddenly quickened it up a little.
Yes. Yes, he's pushed forward as well a little bit more. He looks as though he's not going so deep. He's going to play a little bit forward.
If he does have a failing, Valderrama, it is a tendency to drift back a little bit too deep.
Yes.
And that corner plucked out of the air by Ginsberg, who has made a couple of notable saves in this half so far to keep his team in it.
Yeah, he's doing quite well. I mean, he's adapted well to Scottish football. He's a little bit of a personality. He's a little bit like Bruce Goblar. You know, he likes to show what he can do and how to do it.
Yes, he's just one of Graham Souness's big money signings, as Souness looks to break the bank in Glasgow and turn Rangers into one of the formidable sides of European football. And he bought into the Glasgow Rangers side following an injury to England's Chris Woods. Now this is Valderrama, plays, as we've said, in the French First Division for Montpellier. Colombia once again have got plenty of men forward in this attack. Cross not coming in from the left, but it'll be another corner. So half a dozen corners now to the Colombians. And I should think as we tick towards half-time here, the home fans just beginning to get a little bit fraught.
Yes, yes, even they're getting a little bit impatient. Yeah, you know, every time the pass goes astray, you hear the booing starts a little bit.
Now keeper under pressure, punches one-handed, turns straight back first time, and it's high and wide.
Yes, he could have done with a little bit more height on that punch and a little bit more distance.
Well, here once again we see the punch from the corner, and that shot way off target. If anything, I think the Colombians are getting caught up rather in the atmosphere which is being generated here from the packed stadium, and perhaps they need to slow it down just a wee bit. I'm
sure they are, and I would think that the coaches can't get to half-time quick enough to sort one or two things out, because they are being a little bit too predictable. I mean, they're quite clever, and yet it's all basically through the D. And the Israelis are just sitting waiting for them.
And it's being played at a pace rather reminiscent of the English First Division at times.
Yes, at times, yes.
Well, one of the reasons, of course, for not playing this game in the Colombian capital of Bogotá is the rarefied atmosphere there does work against visiting sides, and we're down at sea level here in this Caribbean seaport of Barranquilla. And with the onset of evening now, considerably cooler than it's been during the heat of the day, so I should think these two teams will be able to keep it going at this tempo for quite some time yet. But tired legs in the second half may make for a few mistakes. With gaps opening up, it could all change in the last 20 minutes.
That's right. If the Colombians can keep the pressure on, you know, you can find one defender who's just not on the mark at that moment.
And the Israelis are guilty of an infringement on the 18-yard line. And as we draw towards the closing minutes of the first half, Higuita in the home goal, yet to make a save in the game. And in fact, I think he's hardly touched the ball in the last half an hour.
Yes.
I just remember one punch from the free kick.
I mean, when teams play against you this way, like the Israelis are against Colombia, and they're just folding back in their own half and grouping just outside the box, it's very difficult to break it down.
They could be finding some space here to break down this Israeli defence. Iguaran creates width, and once again the cross from the left is deflected behind for yet another Colombian corner. Colombia with all the pressure here. The tension, I can tell you, inside the new stadium, the Nuevo Stadium in Barranquilla, is absolutely phenomenal. Football as it can only be in South America, with all the passion, all the drama, all the colour, all the mariachi bands that we associate with the game here, which is really rather more than just a game, it's a religion. And there'll be national celebrations tomorrow here in the South American country if Colombia win. And it'll be a day of mourning, I should think, if they lose.
Yes, of course. You see, I mean, like, we get criticised when England play because they keep saying, oh, all the England players do is just cross big high crosses into the box. If you can't get through, you know, perhaps that's the only way in. You know, you've got two ways of breaking this down. In our way, is the high ball into the box to the big man, or a dead ball situation.
Well, once again, the Colombian back line absolutely rock solid as they snuff out another Israeli break. And once again, the team in blue penned back in their own half as the red shirts come forward once again here with Escobar. Tries to get Iguaran going down the left. And even he can't keep the ball in play. So we've just a couple of minutes to half-time here. And if it stays like this, the Israelis will be well happy with the first 45.
They'll be quite happy with their first half, yes. Yes, they'll go in quite happy.
Every single second that ticks away here a bonus for the Israeli side with their home leg to come. Now here they are on the break through Rosenthal. The tall, lanky striker is pulled back. And that's a foul against Hoyos. Obstruction against the Colombians, so once again it's a free kick for Israel, and it seems that's another yellow card, although I find that rather harsh.
Yeah, well, he was going through, and he checked back, and he was going to go inside the defender, and the defender held him. I think the referee was right in that case, because I think that the player would have gone, although he had perhaps cut inside, he'd have still carried on with the ball.
So it's the number 14 for Colombia, Hoyos, who finds himself in the referee's notebook in the 44th minute. And once again, Monsieur Valtro proving he's going to stand no nonsense here. Well, in the end, that wasn't a bad effort.
Well, I think he had a look at the situation. He saw the Colombian goalkeeper off his line. He thought, well, might catch him out. Give it a try.
That's the first save in the match for Higuita, holding the free underneath his crossbar. Proving that his concentration is 100%, because up to now he's been largely a spectator. Just for a second there, that seemed to give the Israelis heart, but once again they're back defending as they relinquish possession. And Valderrama, the South American maestro, here he is, might think about a shot, wants to get it through to Iguaran. Now it's on to the number 17, Hernandez, and Colombia settle for another corner. Taking it quickly away by the Israeli defence. Back it'll come through Escobar, Valderrama on the left. Can't fault the Israeli tackling, really.
No. Occasionally they've just kind of dived in, but in general they've done quite well.
Should be the keeper's ball. Ginsberg is out. Well, the story of the first half, Don, is amply illustrated by the corner count. 9 to Colombia, and the Israelis yet to win a single corner.
Yeah, but it doesn't count for much unless you score up one of those corners.
That's right.
You know, you can't win these things on corners alone. You need to knock one in.
Absolutely. And who knows here, as we come towards the half-time whistle, if Israel were to steal a goal.
Well, you see, every now and again you get a misdirected pass from the Colombians, and the crowd all kind of start to moan and groan. And that's how it gets sometimes when you get like this. You get a little bit kind of impatient, and players try and do things they normally wouldn't do.
Israel patient in the build-up, trying to find Rosenthal. And Colombia once again, inevitably I suppose, Valderrama. And there it is, the final action of the first half. Monsieur Valtro then brings to a conclusion the first 45 minutes here. It's Colombia with all the pressure, It's a scoreline, however, that will please the Israelis more than it will please the Colombian manager, Francisco Maturana, who will have some harsh words in the half-time dressing room, I should think, Dom. And the nil, Israel nil, the two sides about to take the field for the start of the second half. And it looks as if straight away the Colombians putting on a substitute. Don, what are going to be their tactics in the second half, do you think, to break down this rugged Israeli defence?
Well, seeing that number 7 go on there as a sub, to me that says that it might be a winger. And I think the coaches looked at it and he said, hey, you know, we're trying these 1-2s around the front of the box. It ain't working. Let's see if we can get down the sides. Let's see if we can get into the byline and drill a few balls across the 6-yard box. And let's find another avenue through this Israeli defence.
Well, the tall, lanky number 7 there, just crossing himself, as they do so often here in South America, lining up for the start of the second half. He's on. It's Galliano who's come in to the start lineup for the second half.
Boy. He's got a bit of pace.
Tall and lanky in the John Fashanu mould. You know something about that, John?
Yes, well, if he's got John Fashanu's pace, he'll do okay.
Well, away we go then. The start of the second half here. Colombia with 45 minutes in which to get at least one goal to take to Israel for the second leg. Here the playoff situation, once again to remind you, it's Colombia, the winners of Group 2, against Israel, the winners of the Oceania Group. They getting through in a table which included New Zealand and Australia. And they won their group ahead of Australia, and that brings them here today to Barranquilla. An early chance at the start of the second half for the Colombians. Now it's Iguaran on the far side. Oh, Valderrama within a whisker of taking that under control.
He was just offside, Phil.
Yes.
He was close to it, he was just offside. They slipped a nice ball inside the right back there to get the outside left away. Nice little dangerous attack.
Yes, Iguaran it was. And very nearly getting Valderrama in. Just a fraction offside.
You can see there's only one Israeli up the pitch. He's surrounded by 4 Colombian defenders.
Yeah, Eli Ohana. He's had little chance to show us what he can do in the first period. But I should think as the game wears on, the Colombian nerves will start to fray and the crowd will get onto them.
Sure it will. They don't want 4 at the back marking one player. You know, the 2 fullbacks ought to be on the bike looking for those overlaps, looking for that width.
Oyos making himself available, receives the ball in midfield. Lanky-haired number 14. And that nearly the first touch for Galliano. I think there's a whistle. And he's pulled back for a little shirt tugging. Tall and leggy there, the substitute who's come on for the start of this second half.
He might give him a bit of height in the box as well. They might have brought him on for that. Well, he's tall enough.
Well, certainly, and he gets a header in straight away there to deny Israel from the free kick. Now here he is to make here perhaps his first meaningful contribution to the game. Not with great conviction, the clearance from Israel, and they haven't got it very far. Iguaran dummies, goes round the fullback. Cross into the near post. Can the Israel get it away behind? And the first corner, the second half beginning really in much the way they first...
Iguaran, I think, is the danger. I mean, if he can go past the Israeli right back and get some of those crosses in with his left foot, he could create something for them.
No doubt about it. Iguaran has been the revitalising factor in Colombian football in the past couple of years, and it works so well with Valderrama, and it really would be a joy to see him on the European stage in Italy next June. Now we await the corner kick for Colombia, because one of the Israeli players just limping off for a little attention. It's the tall number 2, one of the 2 Cohens, and he's away behind the goal, away to our right. That's the goal that Bonnie Ginsberg's defending in this second half as the corner swung across. Valderrama with a second header, and it's all very confused and congested in the box. Turned back in once again by Wilson Perez. Ginsberg's out, and Galliano goes tumbling, having made contact with the Israeli keeper. Bonnie Ginsberg, I'm sure.
They did well, very aggressive when he came out there, and he bumped into a Colombian forward and he knocked him flying.
Well, goalkeeper's prerogative around the penalty box, and I'm sure he's not afraid of the physical stuff, playing up in the Scottish Premier Division. Free kick to Colombia, midway inside the Israeli half. Once again, they've taken it quickly, and perhaps too quickly. Ohana forced to come deep and in search of the ball. He's fouled. Eli Ohana, now aged 25. The man who was hoping to find himself playing in Italy this season, the move to Udinese falling through, but he's unhappy at Michelin and would like to move on to pastures new. Rosenthal goes in search of this one, denied by some tough Colombian tackling. The back four for Colombia has been rock solid, certainly so far in the first 48 minutes. Here's Galliano now, and there, that long-legged stride that Don was talking about. The cross comes in, shot from Iguaran, and it's away, and the Israeli defence survives, but that's the closest we've come to a goal.
Gee, well, he did well there. I mean, with his big long legs, he went past the fullback, pulled the ball across, and it was very quick. I don't know who stopped this shot here.
And it's off the defender. Well, it may have been off the chest, it may have been off the elbow.
It hit him.
No danger of a penalty from that range, but as we momentarily lose pictures here, back with you once again. Colombia at the start of the second half then creating a golden opportunity. Iguaran hitting the cross from Galliano first time, and unluckily for Colombia, a defender right in the way. And he's taking it full on the chest there.
Yes.
As he's still firing
brave enough. I think the ball hit him rather than he got in the way, but he was there to do the job. Ginsberg was at the back of it. If he needed, I think he could have perhaps got some hands to it.
But a yard either side, and that surely would have been in the back of the net. So that'll encourage the Colombians, the crowd.
I think that's the way in, Phil. I think that's the way in for the Colombians.
Yes, certainly down the flanks. So Galliano has already given an early hint of what he can do, unlocking the Israeli rear guard and laying on the first chance of the second half after 4 minutes for Iguaran. However, Israeli defenders in the way to deny Colombia. We await the opening goal here in Barranquilla. Iguaran once again teasing and tormenting the fullback. He's certainly got the beating of him, Don.
Yeah, and he slipped a nice ball through. But they're trying to get into that byline now. Without a doubt they are.
So the Colombian tactics displayed at the start of the second. The Israelis warming up 2 substitutes. They've already seen enough. The danger now coming to them down the wings as Colombia look to open the play up and get behind this Israeli defence. Iguaran and Galliano, the men to do it perhaps for Colombia in the second half. Shot comes in from the edge of the box and it's high over the bar. Certainly the pattern of the first being repeated here, and Israel being stretched to the full, but so far defending well.
I think that's the first time they've got a head to a corner, the Colombians. He knocked it down, he came out, shot from the edge of the box would have been on the target as well.
So Iguaran already here at the start of the second half, the 32-year-old now entering the veteran stage, taking on and beating the fullback, and the Colombians perhaps with their joker off the bench, Galliano, the long-legged coloured striker, can play on the wing as he's doing here this evening, patrolling this near touchline. And Iguaran sensibly coming back in search of the ball. Look at the trickery here from the Colombian man. Ginsberg is out to smother and gather. But the Israelis not going in for any time wasting, quite keen themselves to get on with play.
Well, they've got it all to play for. You know, they haven't been broken down yet. Obviously, if it's a no-goal draw here, I mean, it'll be a terrific advantage to them back in Tel Aviv.
Conceded just 4 goals in their 4 qualifying games against New Zealand and Australia. They don't score many, do they, either, Don?
No, they don't. You know, obviously, I mean, they're treating it like a home and away fixture. You know, they're not going to give anything away over in Colombia. But, you know, will they have enough to win it in Tel Aviv?
Well, we shall see. Plenty of football left in this one. Iguaran with the cross. Colombia once again from midfield, trying to thread it through, and it's no trouble for Ginsberg.
Every time they attack down the left-hand side now, the Colombians, danger's coming all the time. You know, the crosses are going. It only needs to get somebody get on the end of one of those crosses.
Still in play, right in front of the linesman. He had the best position. And this is Perea. Valderrama has certainly pushed forward as the game's worn on. And that's a free kick. So, a question of time for Colombia. They dearly love to get on the score sheet here in front of their own fans in Barranquilla. Second half substitute Galeano has already made an impact in the game. Goes for the return from Valderrama, denied this time by an Israeli boot. Up in the air it goes. And eventually whacked forward up to the halfway line. Back it comes once again. Colombia have kept plenty of men forward in and around that Israeli D. And no doubt Higuita will come into vision as he does. Patrolling the area, 30-35 yards from goal.
That's how it should happen. I mean, it's when somebody does something unusual like their goalkeeper's doing that you realise what there is to the game. I mean, why shouldn't a goalkeeper patrol out there?
Yes, indeed, Dave Besant. Something that you encouraged at Wimbledon, I believe.
Right. Yes, yes. I think a lot of goalkeepers now are doing it.
Play on. Israel in possession, just inside their own half. If you just joined us, Israel in the light blue here, playing from right to left. It's live World Cup football on Screen Sport. We're in Barranquilla for this World Cup playoff, the first of two legs. Colombia in the red against Israel. The score 0-0. And we're just about 7 minutes into the second half. Galeano once again taking on three Israeli defenders. And from the angle, leaving himself too much to do with the cross. But he's looking good.
For a big man, yeah, he's very clever. And he wants to go on the outside as well. He wants to get into that byline.
Tricky, leggy style. I wonder if he was to get into the box, whether perhaps the Colombians might go in search of a penalty. Thought they had one in the first half, but Monsieur Vautreau, who's really had a superb game, underlying his status as one of the game's best referees, would have none of it. And it's Colombia on the far touchline. Hoyos waltzes round the Israeli defender and then wastefully gives the ball away. The game not being played at the pace of the first half at the moment, Don?
No, I think that's. I mean, it was all one way, and I've got a feeling that the pace always settles down in the second half of football.
Now Israel just looking as if they might get a scoring opportunity there.
Yeah, he was offside.
And it was Eli Ohana, and hearing the whistle as the header reached him just inside the box. In fact, he'd given it up. And Colombia once again trying to get Galeano going down this near touchline. And that was a shove, surely, was it? Yes.
I know when we played the Poles last week, I mean, they set off at a hell of a pace for the first hour. I mean, they came at us, and obviously sitting there you thought, well, they're not going to do this for an hour and a half. And as the game went in the second half, they did. It settled down, and the game became just a normal pace.
Well, while you were away from us during the break, you can see the streamers that have cascaded down onto the lush turf here in the new stadium. It's a sellout. Tickets have been as rare as snow in the Sahara here in Colombia all week. I think the whole of Barranquilla was trying to crowd into the stadium here at least 2 hours before kickoff for this one. Tremendous backdrop, great drama in this Caribbean seaport. And football at the moment in Colombia really is in the ascendancy as they qualified at the top of Group 2, ousting Paraguay and Ecuador on the way, and brought them to this stage, the first of two games against the winners of the Oceania Group. That's Israel. And Colombia starting as pre-kickoff favourites to go through, but at the moment being pegged back here, it's 0-0, and that will certainly suit the team here in the light blue. Colombia looking to do something about that. Iguaran goes for the cross. Well, a rather wild and hurried clearance from inside the 6-yard box as Ginsberg came to collect, the Israelis get away with it, and in turn look to build on the far side. Looking for Rosenthal and Ohana, these two Israeli players in the Belgian league, who certainly would not be out of place in the World Cup finals, but Israel lacking one or two star members through the rest of the squad, and it's rather a thin 11 in fact that they've brought here to Barranquilla. But defending in numbers, defending in depth, and so far equal to everything the Colombians can produce. It needs a little bit of South American wizardry, I think.
Yes,
Tom.
it does.
It's going to need something a little unorthodox, a little bit special perhaps, just to break the deadlock. Well, the Colombians have the personalities in the team to provide that, no doubt about it. And patience for them perhaps will be...
To be honest, Phil, I've been a little bit disappointed in Valderrama. His work hasn't been aggressive enough for me. You know, he hasn't gone for them. You know, like he's knocked it about with the rest in midfield, and I thought he would have really gone in and he'd have put himself in and around that box, and with all his skills and his lovely touches, he would have been a handful. He seems to want to fall back, kind of into midfield all the time, looking for more space and more room. That you'd think around the box he'd just be the fellow to prize it open.
Well, they call him the Ruud Gullit of South America. I seem to remember Gullit himself having a very quiet start to the European Championships, of course, for the Netherlands last summer, and then it all came good in the final. So perhaps Valderrama saving himself here, as the keeper's out to block. Not sure where the ball had gone for a second. Ginsberg there. The Colombian force wide from the angle, unable to turn it back in.
That was a nice through ball. It was a nice angle run across the box, but the ball went through the defenders. It's the first time they're starting to get the balls in the back of the Israeli defenders.
And Alvarez, it was denied by Ginsberg's rush. Well, Valderrama, as is his wont, does tend to look casual at times, but of course can explode into action when it matters. Now, a substitution coming in for Israel. It's a number 9 who's coming off, we think, and the number 14 coming on. We'll await the caption from the Colombian director.
I would think they're going to stabilise that right side. The boy looks as though he's got a problem with his right leg, with that coming off, but this boy's going to play over on the right side.
Yes, he's slotting in to bolster that right flank, where Iguaran has been teasing and tormenting, and he's about to receive the ball again. A lovely chip from Valderrama. Can he turn the cross in from the byline? Cut out by the keeper at the near post. And who was lurking at the back post?
Yes,
it's Galliano.
Well, he's big enough to get on the end of those.
Certainly looking as if he might be the trump card here in the second half.
So that was a clever little ball of Valderrama, and he just lifted it over the defenders' heads.
Once again in the second half here. We've played 17 minutes in Barranquilla, and I can't recall Higuita yet having a ball to field inside his own penalty area. It's a long shot which is going to trouble nobody, but the ball boy is back behind Higuita's goal, and one of the Colombians there just receiving attention to, looks like the right knee, and in fact it's Iguaran in delivering that last cross has just taken a knock. He looks okay. The magic spray has done its trick, and away we go once again. Colombia, to remind you if you've just joined us, here in the red and blue, playing in front of a packed crowd here at the Nuevo Stadium in Barranquilla, and at the moment the crowd just a wee bit muted. They've been making a tremendous amount of noise here in the first 60 minutes, but now just beginning to wonder if and when Colombia are going to get on the score sheet here today. We thought the Israelis would come to defend. They've been modest in attack, but exemplary so far in defence, in protecting Ginsberg. And the only time Colombia have got through, the keeper has been equal to the task with 2 flying saves to divert shots around the bar and around the post in the first half. And in the second, a crucial interception from a defender to deny Iguaran in what would have been the opening goal for Colombia. So we're still pegged back at 0-0 here, and it's all to play for in the final quarter of this game. Colombians patient through the build-up. They've looked the more fluent, the more coordinated of the two sides throughout. And now in this second half using the wide men to stretch this Israeli defence. But once again delaying and giving the Israelis plenty of time to mass back. So they try it on the left flank. Perhaps this is their best route to goal. Wilson Perez coming forward. Still the Colombians getting Perez eventually with a right foot volley from just outside the box. If he'd kept that one down, that might have been interesting. See it here as the Israelis really failed to get a tackle in.
Yeah, he could have waited for it to come down a little bit more, I think. He could have did it closer to the floor.
Full-back shot.
Kept it down. Yes, it was. It was a defender coming through from the back. They've got to get some of those. I mean, every time we look back on the halfway line, there's 4 Colombian defenders standing with 1 Israeli forward. Well, that's not right. I mean, they get 2 up there. They've got to break the Israelis down.
There are 25 minutes remaining for Colombia to find the goal that their dominance has deserved in this game. The first of 2, don't forget. So all will not be lost if it stays like this. But Colombia would surely be looking for a 2-goal cushion to take to the second game at the end of October. And as Don was saying, with the Israelis playing just 1 man forward, surely it's time to start throwing caution to the winds and getting bodies forward as they go in search of this opening goal.
I'm just amazed that the fullbacks haven't gone forward. Got some overlaps on.
Well, Escobar, of course, one of the central defenders alongside Pereira here on the ball. He scored against England at Wembley in May '88 in the Rouse Cup. Colombia came away with a 1-1 draw. England's goal that night from Gary Lineker. And also in that competition, Scotland and Colombia playing out a goalless draw at Hampden. So the Colombians proving in Europe that there were no mugs, remaining unbeaten on that short tour. But here they are struggling to overcome Israel. It's certainly something they'd see plenty of course, if they were to get to the World Cup finals in Italy.
Yes.
This is football now at the highest levels. Teams have learnt to defend in depth, even some of the more modest nations such as Israel. A great levelling up of standards in international football throughout the years, and let us remind you that Bobby Robson's England also unable to break down this Israeli team in February of last year in a friendly in Tel Aviv, which also finished Israel 0, England 0. That's the scoreline here in Barranquilla. Colombia line up the shot. It's a tame one, and running out of options a little bit.
Yes, it's the same old picture. They're not thinking up anything original. I mean, I know how they feel. I know exactly how they feel. You sit there on the bench sometimes, and it gets very frustrating because you can feel what the players are going through. You just want that little bit of inspiration. You need that individual to do something right out the ordinary and create something for it and get a goal. Then everybody settles down and everybody gets relaxed.
Here's Galliano, the substitute. And we've already seen his dribbling skills, but on that occasion, greed getting the better of him. I noticed from the opening game, Colombia struggled actually to overcome Ecuador 2-0. It came good for them in the end, but they did bring on Fallardo in that game. Now he's on the bench today. Fallardo, Mendoza, another option they have to perhaps ginger up the front line. I wonder if we'll see a Colombian substitute before too long to line up with Galliano, because he certainly livened things up a wee bit since he started the second half.
Yes.
It'll be a foul.
Well, they've got to try everything they've got. I mean, in this situation, they need to win. 1-0's better than going away with a no-goal draw. They've got to try everything they've got.
This is Galliano. The Israelis, look at this. 3 men they've got round the big number 7 now. Goes for the return. It's a good one too. The cross from Galliano. Wants to take the fullback onto the left, onto the right. Ginsberg cuts it out. And once again, Galliano perhaps just delaying his cross, giving the Israelis time to marshal in defence. And not surprisingly, that's the Colombian bench. And they'll be looking anxiously as the minutes tick by.
They're trying to get at the players. They're trying to get something going. You know, they're trying to stimulate the players, try and get a little bit more effort, get a few more instructions on the pitch.
We're midway through the second half here. Live football from Barranquilla. It's Colombia 0, Israel 0. Colombians, once again, they've had all the possession. Valderrama, he's seen plenty of the ball, as we knew he would. But look at that once again, sterling defensive work from the Israelis. The Colombians at times are making it a little easy for them, Don.
Well, they are, because they're doing the same thing. I mean, it's a little give and go, and if the first man doesn't get it, the man behind gets it.
Well, Higuaín, there's a buzz round the stadium every time he's on the ball. But once again, Ginsberg is equal to the cross.
They've got to vary those crosses. I mean, I'm amazed they're not drilling a few across hard and low across the 6-yard box. I mean, they're hanging them up there, and Ginsberg he's looked a very competent keeper. He's caught everything.
Well, he's not a small goalkeeper. He's 6'2". And at the moment, these crosses from the Colombians meet and drink to the Glasgow Rangers keeper. Just picking up on that point Don Howe made, the one occasion we've seen at the start of the second half where Galliano drilled the cross in low and hard, very nearly produced the goal.
Actually, it's a South American cross, the hard and low one. I think a lot of clubs still do use that, but I think we picked it up from South America.
But also, full credit to the Israeli defenders. They're not giving away free kicks in a dangerous position. We know the Colombians can bend the free kicks from around the 20-yard area, and so far they've been very disciplined.
Yes, the free kicks have been, you know, a good kind of 30 yards out.
Now this is Galliano. Can he keep it in play? A tremendous stride of the number 7. Needs a good cross. Well, once again, Don, it's what we've been saying. He does the hard work.
It could be the coach on the bench. He's trying to get those instructions out there. Here we go again. You know, they're trying to get ideas onto the pitch for the players.
Yes, Francisco Maturana, the 40-year-old manager and trainer of the national side. He's also coach to the club side, Atlético Nacional of Medellín. Well, that was an intelligent dummy, but it did nothing but leave the ball for Higuita. And look at this from the Colombian keeper.
Oh,
well, this is quite incredible.
Well, I mean, I've never seen anything like that. That
Absolutely
is truly
incredible.
Amazing.
And it's earned the Israeli a yellow card. We were talking about Higuita's unorthodox style. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that in international football.
That's pure confidence. I mean,
had the ball broken back to the number 11 there, any Israeli player surely would have had a free shot at goal.
He must be the best player on the 5-a-side in training. I mean, just to set off like that in the middle of a game, to set off dribbling forward. I don't know what the other aspect they used him, obviously the other defenders, but to set off, I don't know whether he finished up. I think you're going to hold the length of the pitch.
Well, if he hadn't been brought down by that crash and tackle, I'm sure he was prepared to go all the way.
I'm sure he was.
Quite incredible.
Well, I suppose he's standing back there, and he's getting as frustrated as the rest of the Colombians, and I suppose he wants to do something about it.
Pure South American extravagance. Jose René Higuita giving us the highlight of the second half here, and just to rub salt into the wounds as he launches on a 40-yard mazy dribble to the halfway line. One of the Israeli defenders gets booked for having the temerity to bring him down. Now this is Galliano. That's a good ball. Galliano with a chance, it's there! Galliano has done it! Galliano, the substitute, has come off the bench and opened the scoring for Colombia. It's Colombia 1, Israel 0.
Well, he's done that about twice. Is if he can't get kind of outside the fullback, he's come inside, played it in like he's played it there, got on the end of the return, and this time he's kept his composure and just slid it past Ginsberg inside the near post. But he's played it in there and kept on his run.
Simple 1-2 on the edge of the box, unlocks the Israeli defence. Ginsberg is beaten at last through the defender's legs. And Galliano tucks it inside the near post. Well, we see it here once again in the build-up, Don. I think he's a very difficult player to knock off the ball.
Yeah, well, he's got that terrific stride, and obviously if he puts his arms out, you can't get near him. I mean, I would think each arm's about 6 foot long, so I mean, if he puts those out, you can't get round there and tackle him.
Well, there we are, the hero of the hour in Barranquilla. 28 minutes gone in the second half. Colombia find the net, the goal that their pressure deserves, and the Israelis are behind. Galliano, clearly the inspiration that was needed from Maturana. He brought him on at the start of the second half. Nearly created a goal for Iguaran with his first telling run down the right wing. It takes a 1-2 through the heart of the Israeli defence, tucks the ball inside the post from 8 yards. Colombia are ahead, and that's what the home fans think of it.
Yeah, well, that's obviously they've had to work hard for that goal. I mean, I don't think they thought it was coming. But give credit to the coach. You know, he's the fellow who made the substitute at all time.
And once again, on the far side, back come Colombia. Now their tails are up. What do you think that goal will do for the Israeli morale, Don? Will they be able to hold discipline, or will they? I think what they'll do,
they were starting to attack a little bit just before the goal. I think they'll come and sit back now. They'll settle for 1-0.
Colombians certainly won't settle for that opening from Galliano. They're going to go in search of number 2. It could be a very, very interesting final 15 minutes here. Free kick. And it was interesting there in that last shot, suddenly for the first time you started to see space in midfield.
Yes, you did, yeah.
And I think perhaps 1 or 2 legs will tire and the Israelis may begin to get stretched.
Sure, well, it always does. I mean, that's the way of football. I mean, I would think in most modern football now, there's more goals scored in the last kind of 15 minutes of a football match than ever before.
It's a defender on for Rosenthal, so the Israelis look very much as if they're going to defend in depth for these final 15 minutes. Well, defend in depth is what they've done virtually for the whole game, but now any strike potential from them has been virtually eliminated with that substitution. Just Ohana flying the flag for them up front. They'll pack the defence for these final 15 minutes in Barranquilla as Colombia go in search of a second. The crowd around us are really going absolutely wild. One thing Israel won't want to do is to concede another one quickly. Here's Eli Ohana. Has hardly had any support really, or any decent ball to work with, the Israeli star striker. But he's up against one of the most formidable back fours in current South American soccer. To say, Don, full credit to the referee Valtro, but with 3 yellow cards, it's never been a vicious game.
No.
We have hardly seen a bad foul in the match.
No, the spirit of the game's been great, really.
Well, no doubt the crowd have been lifted by that goal of Galliano's. The long wait has its reward. 28 minutes into the second half. Colombia edging Israel here by the solitary goal. Scored by the substitute. Here they are once again into the Israeli box. Valderrama shot his charge down. Might have slipped that wide to the left. Colombia will bring it straight back again. Escobar finds the goal scorer. Valderrama goes crashing. He's got 2 men on him as soon as he's got the ball, but suddenly now we're seeing Valderrama around the edge of the penalty box.
Yeah, well, I think he's getting just a little bit more room as well.
This really is where he's got to be. Carlos Valderrama Outstanding footballer in
what they ought to
Colombia.
be doing is feeding this ball to this right wing. Galeano, I mean, every time he gets the ball, you can sense something's going to happen. You'd think they'd be flogging it, you know, they'd be giving it as often as they can.
And Iguaran too on the left.
Of course.
It's Perea looking for Valderrama. And tidied up by Wilson Perez. And Higuita, happy this time to remain in his own castle. Quite incredible moment here 5 minutes ago as Higuita went on the run. Almost to the halfway line, the sort of thing that I'm sure would give managers grey hairs in this country, Don.
Yes.
They do say that goalkeepers are crazy in football. Well, that was a classic example. But it's Colombia here with the cushion of the goal against Israel, the goal they so badly needed. Throughout the game, the superior side with nothing to show for that superiority until Galeano in the 28th minute of this second half. Once again, the Colombian bench, they've been in that position throughout the 70 minutes so far played.
Well, obviously the coach would like another goal.
May get one here. It reaches Iguaran on the edge of the box, goes for the chip, flying header, denied. Israel defending well. They've been solid in the air. Wilson Perez, did he think about a shot there? Well, in the end it's for Iguaran to chase. Wilson Perez once again, aerial ball to the edge of the Israeli box. They've got 7-8 men back in front of Bonnie Ginsberg. Colombia have to be patient in the build-up. Don't panic. Surely the message from the bench has to be, get it out to this near touchline. Now the number 4 breaking into the box. Turns it back, and that's too high for Iguaran. The number 4 there, Escobar, on the burst. That's what the bench think of it. Well, Galeano has proved he can go outside the fullback. He's not afraid to cut in.
Well, that's what he does. I mean, he picks it up and he's kind of setting the fullback up to try and get outside him. If he can't get outside him, he plays it into a front player and makes the run outside for the return ball.
So the minutes tick by here in Barranquilla. The crescendo of noise continues unabated in the new stadium. Iguaran, he's had a quiet 10 minutes, hasn't seen too much of the ball. Lovely piece of trickery from the Colombian. Ginsberg is out to collect. And he's quick to release the ball. Oh, look how quickly the Colombians are in there. And they win it back. And here he is, Galeano once again. Leggy styles, almost like a gazelle.
Well, that's right, but he's got terrific balance. I mean, he can change his direction. For a big man, absolutely super.
Well, he's going to be the hero of Colombia in the week to come. And they'll be asking in footballing circles here in South America why he wasn't on from the start. But I should think on this performance, he's going to be the first name on the team sheet for the return. Yeah. Here he is again. Cross is not a good one. Ginsberg makes the most of it. But left helpless, really, by the strike of Galeano. Little he could do with the goal. Expertly tucked between him and the near post. Is the long hair of Hoyos in midfield. Once again, Wilson Perez looking for that man Galeano. But another minute ticks away, and it's to the Israelis' advantage here. There are 7 minutes remaining in Barranquilla, not counting injury time. We've had just a little bit of that in this second period.
Yeah, in that Israeli defence, you can see one or two socks round the boots, and you can see shirts out of shorts. Getting a little bit tired. If they can keep the pressure on,
and it now looks
the
as
Colombians,
if
they might be able to prize another one out of them.
well, Signor Materana has both his assistants at his shoulders, and all they can do from the touchline is sweat it out, looking for a second, which would make it comfortable for the return in Israel. Now Higuita will want to get on with things, I should think. Hasn't had a serious save to make in the game, just catching a floated free kick under his own bar a minute before half-time. He's been completely inactive in the second, apart from his rush of blood up to the halfway line, which he got away with. And I'm sure in these final 6 minutes, if he could, he'd be up inside the opposing penalty area, adding his weight to the attack. The Colombians flooding forward once again, the red and blue, rampant here as they go for a second against Israel. They had 5 minutes in which to find it. Will this be it? That one was dipping just too high, and I think Ginsberg had it covered.
There's a few tired legs in that Israeli defence. You know, there's little openings, and they're not getting as tight as they were, and they're not closing things down as they were.
Yes, they're certainly looking a little leaden-footed here inside the final 5 minutes. And they were caught rather back on their heels there.
Yeah, they'll be glad when that final whistle comes. They've definitely settled for 1-0.
Well, of course, they've been under the cosh here in Barranquilla for 85 minutes, as we suspected they would be. Colombia starting this game hot favourites, and at the moment having to settle for the 1-goal advantage. A goal prized out of this Israeli defence by Galliano. 28 minutes into the second half. That at the moment divides the teams here as another 60 seconds ticks by. 87 minutes played in the new stadium. And the crowd urging the Colombians on to one final effort. A second goal here would be nothing less than they deserved, as Galliano spreads the play wide to Higuaín, controls the ball with his hand.
Chest and hand, yeah.
Yeah, chest to hand, and not for the first time, Monsieur Valtro with the eyes of an eagle. He was described to me, Don, at the European Championships by another journalist as a hanging judge of a referee.
Yes.
But certainly has kept an admirable grip on this game.
Yes, he seems to walk around the pitch. He never seems to be in a hurry, and yes, he always seems to be on the spot.
He does indeed. And what could have been a potentially explosive encounter here has been played in an excellent spirit. We've seen plenty of good football, most of it, of course, from the team in red. Much of it from these two players. Higuaín, for once, his touch letting him down as he failed to collect from Valderrama. And there we see an Israeli player. Do you think that's cramped on?
I think that's definitely cramped, yes. Yeah. He's had enough. The referee's looked at his watch.
Well, Monsieur Valtro will be well aware of any professional time wasting.
Yeah, that's right.
We so often see the professional injury at this stage of a game to eat up a few seconds. We may well see another Israeli substitution to eat up a few more seconds. And of course the Colombian bench want things to get underway as quickly as possible. There are 2 minutes of normal time remaining, 120 seconds not counting injury time. The crowd at fever pitch as they've been for much of the game here. It's certainly
interesting to see Ginsberg there. He's going round all the players, geeing them up, saying, come on, these last 5 minutes, hold on. Trying to gee them up, trying to get them tight marking again.
Yes, Ginsberg, of course, who's had experience of the big time up at Ibrox, whereas much of the Israeli team playing domestic football for the two big sides, the two Tel Aviv clubs. That's Maccabi and Hapoel, and the other players coming from Maccabi Haifa. For them, this must be a new experience, I should think.
Yes, very new.
while we await resumption of play. What can Colombia expect in the return in Tel Aviv?
They can expect a very tough game. You know, the Israelis over there, as we've seen in these last few years, they're not easy. You know, and obviously they'll know exactly what they've got to do. They've got to get forward and score goals. They've got to win the game. So it'll be a tough game. Obviously, they'll be good on the break, the Colombians.
And the crowd, every bit as fanatical as we've seen.
Oh, yes.
By my watch, we're playing the final 45 seconds of normal time. In the 89th minute here, it's Colombia 1, Israel 0. And it's looking very much as if the goal 28 minutes into the second half from Galliano is going to be the one that decides this first of two legs. And it sets us up nicely for the return at the end of October. Don't forget, a game you can see live here on Screen Sport, as Colombia will look to protect that slender lead in Israel. And it couldn't be better balanced for the return. We're into injury time then at the end of the game. This, the hero of the second half, but looking very much as if the Colombians, who will run and run to the end, will have to settle for that one goal. They might have hoped for two. They've never been under threat of conceding one themselves. The Israelis have been defensive throughout, and that's a tired-looking cross, which will be of no discomfort to Bonnie Ginsberg.
That's going to be the Israelis' big problem, is can they score against the Colombians over in Tel Aviv?
Yes, indeed.
And that's where they've got to once more do a lot of work.
This tie far from settled then, to see who goes to Italy in this unique playoff situation, where the winners of South America Group 2, Colombia, having to play the two extra games here against the Israelis, winners of the Oceania Group, in which they participate for political reasons. And it's a long road to Italy, and it's by no means over yet. Shot in the dying seconds, comes in, a good save by Ginsberg. Goes to his right, and good handling from the keeper. See it again.
He's looked a very competent keeper tonight, Ginsberg.
Well, it was curling away, but too close to Bonnie Ginsberg. And we're coming up. We've played over 90 seconds of injury time, and I wouldn't think there's much more to play out here. The drama in Barranquilla, which will continue in 2 weeks' time in Israel, unless Galliano can do something here right at the death. Well, not with a cross like that. And 22 very tired legs out there now.
Yes, very much so, yeah.
Well, it's been hot and sultry here all day in Colombia, and even with the cool of evening, the temperature still well into the 70s. As Monsieur Valtro has another look at the official timepiece. He's got three, in fact, on him, Monsieur Valtro, a wristwatch, one in the pocket, and another one as backup. And here's the one that matters. And we've played 2.5 minutes of injury time. I can't remember there being that much in the game, Don.
No, but what he's done every time there's been a stoppage, I've noticed he's looked at his watch to check how long it's took to get the game going again.
Two of the players beginning to look very tired indeed now. There's not too much movement around the pitch. That is indeed the final whistle. There it is. Monsieur Valtro brings to a conclusion the first of two legs here in Barranquilla. The final score, Colombia 1, Israel 0. 28 minutes into the second half. The only goal of the game scored by Galliano, the substitute who came off the bench, started the second half, and he it was who finally found a way through this rugged Israeli defence. It's all to play for then in the second leg. Don't forget the Screen Sport camera.